we've come in the last couple of weeks. We've got our goat pen completely cleared out, and that goat pen is awesome. We've got 2 little baby Nigerian dwarf goats, Zeke and Ellie. We've got the garden boxes rocking and rolling, right? You got all sorts of veggies planted in there, fence around it now. And what came yesterday? Guess. Our chicken coop. And so we are really on the homesteading scale. We are leveling up quite regularly. Like when I tell you that your mission in life should be, and I tell this to my children too, be hard to kill. Look at things through the lens of, will this make me tougher? Will this make me more formidable? And we take it very seriously around here about homesteading and trying to, if the worst happens, make sure that we are 100% have the ability to take care of ourselves, but more important than ourselves, our children as well. So that's been pretty amazing. And by the way, I see in the mail the other day this homesteading magazine, and I'm like, homesteading magazine, this seems like an odd coincidence, we're all of a sudden doing all this stuff, getting homesteading magazines. This is a little bit crazy. And I'd look at the couch and Commander Melanie's sitting there just flipping through, reading the magazine, and come to find out, here she is. She's so into this, she subscribes to a homesteading magazine just to learn. When this woman, I'm telling you, this woman is fierce on every level, but when she goes in on something, man, she is all in. We got a homesteading magazine being delivered to Fort Parnell. Absolutely crazy. So, got a huge show for you planned today. In the arena tonight is Savage Rich Baris. So today, look, Savage Tuesday, does it have quite the ring as Savage Wednesday? I don't know. But because I figured I wasn't going to have a show tomorrow, I love Rich Baris so much, and I know you all do as well. So I wanted to make sure we got him in here. So we reshuffled things and got him on deck. So he's in the arena tonight. Stand by for him. We love that guy. Best pollster in the business. Merrick Garland in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. New details on Biden's executive order on the border. It can blow you away when you read some of the fine print on this stuff. We're going to talk about that. NATO's plan to send Americans to the front lines in Ukraine. If you haven't heard about this, stay tuned. And by the way, didn't I tell you something like this would happen? Stay tuned. We'll tell you all about it. And Pride Month, yep, more confirmation that they are indeed coming for your children. I hate to laugh, but it's just true. Before we jump into the show, let me tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Done with that. You go to bed thinking about it. You wake up thinking about it. And here's the truth. The system traps you in debt. High interest credit card and loans make it nearly impossible to pay off your debt. And insane inflation keeps you stuck paycheck to paycheck. I'm looking into this camera and telling you all right now that Commander Melanie and I, with 5 kids and a mortgage and car payment and groceries, we are in debt. It sucks. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, especially with the animated corpse that is Joe Biden in the White House. And if you need help, you should go to Done With That. Done With That happens to be your lifeline. Done With That has an ingenious new strategy to help erase your debt faster and easier than you thought possible. Done With That analyzes all the debt options that you qualify for. They know how to reduce debt. They know how to cut interest rates. Their skilled staff of negotiators know how to get that out of your life permanently without bankruptcy and without a loan. Done With That are the experts in brilliant strategies for eliminating debt, but you need to hurry because some debt solutions are time sensitive. Here's how easy they make it. Go to donewiththat.com. That's donewiththat.com. Select VNN. That's Vigilant News Network at checkout. That's donewiththat.com. Let me also tell you about Field of Greens. So there'll be about 2 million new cases of cancer this year, a new record. Cancer is on the rise, but why? The American Cancer Society says to lower your cancer risk, look at what you eat. You may hear this and radically change your diet. If you're me, you hear that and you say, hell no, I am a meat and potatoes kind of guy. I was the most popular person in Ranger School for a reason, because I was the only one giving away food. I don't eat fruits or vegetables, just so you know. But if not, if you're one of those people, And that's why doctors created Field of Greens. Are there cancer-fighting foods? Yes, absolutely. Researchers found diets rich in fruits and veggies. They may help prevent cancer. You may hear this and radically change your diet. But again, if not, if you're like me, you probably won't. If not, you've got Field of Greens. Each fruit and veggie in Field of Greens was doctor selected for studied health benefits. There's a heart health group, lungs, kidney, metabolism groups, even healthy weight. Will Field of Greens treat, prevent, or cure cancer? No, but it's so powerful, it promises your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. I got you 15% off on your first order and free rush shipping. So visit brickhousevnn.com and use promo code VNN. That's promo code VNN at brickhousevnn.com. Okay. Off the top rope and into the show. So federal prosecutors lead in with this. Federal prosecutors just entered Hunter Biden's laptop as evidence in the case against Hunter Biden. Now, in order for prosecutors to do that, what does that mean? It means that the Hunter Biden laptop is and always was real. FBI witness confirmed on the stand today that, yes, the Hunter Biden laptop is real. Now, I want you to think back to that time. Close your eyes and think back to September, October 2020, when the Hunter Biden laptop story dropped. Do you remember what our intelligence agencies and assets did? 51 intelligence agents lied, and then the media regurgitated those lies over and over and over again, said that Hunter Biden laptop was simply Russian disinformation. And if you look at some of the polling that has happened in the wake of that, if people had known the truth about Hunter Biden's laptop, I've seen polling that estimates between 7 and 10% of Americans say, hey, I would not have voted for Joe Biden had I known that that laptop was in fact real. Had the reporting been honest, I would not have voted for Joe Biden. Folks, that happened. It kind of makes you think, right? And so I've heard from numerous people, my buddies on the Trump campaign, and numerous people that are in the know on stuff like this, checked around with many of them today, that people believe that Hunter Biden's jury is completely rigged, stacked with Democrats. So, by the way, that shouldn't surprise you at all. We all recognize that there are two tiers of justice in this country. Democrats get off scot-free while Republicans are thrown in prison, if you're a J6er, sometimes for 20 years for crimes that are completely fabricated out of whole cloth. Yeah, well, you went on appeal, maybe, but take years to get there. In the meantime, enjoy solitary confinement. But go with me here. We acknowledge that the process is likely rigged against Hunter Biden. I think that Hunter Biden being acquitted is probably the best outcome for us. Because listen, lawfare has not helped. We're going to talk about this with Rich Baris here a little bit later on the show, but Democrat lawfare against Trump, while it's made Trump's life a living hell, while it's made his family's life a living hell, it has not worked. In fact, it has opened the eyes of the American people on a level that we have not seen in this country in a very, very, very long time. So if Hunter Biden, the president's son, is then acquitted by a, quote, jury of his peers, when, of course, we know the jury is rigged. But if he is acquitted, how do you think the American people will see that? Seriously, do you think that the American people who are trying to ascertain what the facts are in good faith are going to see Hunter Biden being acquitted and just say, oh, that's totally fine, it was a jury of his peers after all? Or are they going to look at all the things that happened to Trump and said, you know what, something just ain't right? And oh, by the way, you have Biden, first not prosecuted by Merrick Garland's DOJ. Special prosecutor Robert Hur basically said he was a feeble old man, too weak to withstand or even to be bothered to even prosecute this guy. And then you have Hunter Biden being acquitted. And then you have Donald Trump being prosecuted for what are completely made up crimes. And I mean it, like completely made up. Never would have been brought against anybody else except for a man named Trump. Completely made up. So that brings us where we are right now. Merrick Garland on Capitol Hill. All of this is happening at the same time, right, folks? It's like a constellation of different things. It's kind of hard to track. But so Attorney General Garland is on Capitol Hill today, testifying in front of the House Judiciary Committee. And he said, and I quote, "There's only one tier of justice. We don't give any benefit to a powerful person over a non-powerful person, any benefit to a Democrat over Republican." Like I mean, as you could probably tell, I'm trying not to laugh here because that's a complete and total joke. You know that, right? So listen to Gates question Merrick Garland. And by the way, Gates was unbelievably effective in his questioning. I wish that Republicans were as effective yesterday questioning Anthony Fauci as Gates was today questioning Merrick Garland. Listen to this opening salvo between Gates and Garland.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
You make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now,
man, I'm telling you, listen, Gates the guy is unbelievably effective at this. Let's just be honest. I don't agree with everything the guy does, but that line of questioning was exactly what we need from every Republican in the House. If every Republican in the House approached lines of questioning to our Democrat political enemies in committee hearings like that, we would win a hell of a lot more battles. But I want to draw attention to something. And that's Garland saying that it's a conspiracy theory to even believe that the Department of Justice could be coordinating with state prosecutor offices. It's a conspiracy theory. Listen to me, folks. When the left does this, just generally speaking, Merrick Garland comes in there, he sits his ass in that chair, and the first thing he does is launch an attack and saying you're all conspiracy theorists instead of answering the actual question. And think about it. It's the easiest thing in the world. I mean, we talk about how the left's conspiracy theories are all effing insane. Remember what we said about COVID? We simply said, oh, hey, maybe the virus came from that level 5 viral contamination facility in Wuhan that also happens to be, researching coronaviruses. Oh, the virus came from Wuhan? What an amazing coincidence. Maybe we should investigate this. No, the media and the Democrats would have you believe a deranged Chinese guy got sick from eating a bad batch of bat soup. Which one of those two things is more believable? What we said is reasonable, but the government conspiracy theories are so far out in left field that it's almost, when you think about them, it's almost hard to fathom them even being remotely true. And so here, when Garland is asked that question, he could easily dispel these pesky conspiracy theories, if they really were, by simply divulging all the communication between the Department of Justice and sloppy Alvin Bragg and Tish James with the Department of Justice. If there's truly no coordination between those two offices, then just release the communications. Like, what happened to transparency in government? That request is not something that's out of the ordinary. In fact, it's very, very, very common. But Garland's hesitancy to even allow any window into that process lets you know that it's not a conspiracy. They 100% coordinated. After all, there are White House logs that show these state prosecutors, Soros-funded prosecutors, visiting the White House. Why the hell were they there? Why the hell did Colangelo leave the White House as the number 3 DOJ dude to go work for sloppy Alvin Bragg? Gates got at that too, and he did a very damn good job. Listen.
No problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the...
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we...
Listen to me, folks. This is something, I'm seeing a very, very common thing here, and it really, really pisses me off. Fauci yesterday, Garland today. They go on Capitol Hill. They answer questions from Republicans, and they're like Sandra Bullock in the effing Bird Box. They can't see, they can't hear, they don't know what the hell's going on. They just act like they had no part in this. They don't bother to answer Republican questions. Fauci yesterday was a complete disgusting sleazeball and deflected every question, was clearly lying. All Republicans had to do, for God's sake, was play videos of Fauci saying one thing and doing another. The Republicans didn't even have to do any questioning. But then here you have Garland say, I didn't do it. I had nothing to do with Colangelo going to sloppy Alvin Bragg state prosecutor's office. Are you kidding me? This guy's the attorney general. He's responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen in the Department of Justice. And somehow, some way in the year of 2024, we, the people of this country, are just going to say, oh, it's totally fine. Totally fine that our attorney general has his head firmly planted up his ass and doesn't know what the hell's going on in his office. Meanwhile, just think about this. The level of coordination that would go into, and it really would require a level of sophistication and coordination, unprecedented in Department of Justice history, by the way, to prosecute President Trump. By the way, not immediately after he left office, but only after he declared president. But imagine the level of sophistication and coordination that would go into planning a case in D.C., a case in Georgia, a case in Florida, a case in New York, 2 cases in New York. And oh, by the way, all of these cases, after these these radical Democrat judges who are specially appointed over these cases, just so happen to have the trials correspond with Super Tuesday and the Republican National Convention. But yeah, we're the ass clowns for thinking it's a conspiracy theory. At some point, people in this country, and I think they are going to have to wake up, because there's not going to be any place to go soon Folks, I'm not exaggerating here. This is not hyperbole. If you can tell I'm fired up, it's because I am. Look at this Associated Press headline. Wisconsin's Attorney General files felony charges against attorneys and an aide who worked for Donald Trump in 2020. Hear from the National Pulse about the same story. 3 individuals who spearheaded the challenge to Wisconsin's 2020 presidential election results on behalf of Trump campaign have been indicted by the state's Attorney General, Josh Kaul, Democrat, over their efforts. I mean, folks, this shit is not going to stop, folks. I'm just saying it. I'm frustrated. I'm angry because people better wake up before it's too late, because this stuff is not going to stop. So I got to get Rich Baris's thoughts on this. Let me tell you about Sweetamine real quick, and then we'll bring Rich on. But I've been taking Sweetamine for 2 months now. I'm going to take it for the rest of my life. I believe in it. You should too. Sweetamine treats chronic inflammation, and it works because it's composed mainly of the amino acid glycine, and that's the nutrient our immune system uses to regulate chronic inflammation. Most of the diseases that make people sick and die these days are rooted in inflammation. So aches and pains that we feel as we get older are because of chronic inflammation due to glycine deficiency. So if you take Sweetamine, you're no longer glycine deficient, and your body's immune system can tackle chronic pain the way that it was intended to. So once daily serving of Sweetamine provides 8 grams of glycine, enough to stop all excess inflammation right where it starts. With once daily Sweetamine, most people feel the reduction in pain after just a few days. Sweetamine's great for after workouts as well. 12-day challenge trial pack of Sweetamine is only $19.95 with free shipping, and it's sold completely risk-free. Use Sweetamine just like sugar in your favorite beverage, in a smoothie, sprinkled on your cereal, any way you want. And if you don't like it, you can send it back, full money back guarantee. Sweetamine contains no sugar, no carbs, 24 calories, great for diabetics. You can get Sweetamine online at sweetamine.com. That's SWEETAMINE.com, or call 855-GET-SWEET. That's 855-438-7933. Sweetamine.com, 855-GET-SWEET. Don't forget the promo code Sean, and you get a $5 discount. Okay, let me tell you very quickly about Book a Limo. If you're on the lookout for a top-notch transportation or limo service, corporate travel, or any other adventure, you should choose Book a Limo. I'm going out of town tomorrow, and guess what I'm using to and from the airport? Book a Limo. Why? Because it's way cheaper than Uber and Lyft, and it's a conservative company versus a woke company that doesn't share our values. Book a Limo has got Sprinter vans, mini coaches for group travel. They've got sedans. They've got motor coaches. They've got limousines as well. They're available in 1,000 cities worldwide. What sets them apart? Well, of course, their pricing. They're just as inexpensive as Uber and Lyft, except for they're conservative, as I mentioned, and they share our values. They run a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week in-house operation arm of state-of-the-art technology. So whether it's a dead of night or crack of dawn, you can pick up the phone and have a direct line to your driver. Book a Limo is a full-service experience. Give them a call, 1-800-BOOK-A-LIMO. That's 1-800-BOOK-A-LIMO, or book online. I booked online at www.bookalimo.com. That's www.bookalimo.com. Trust me, they're your go-to for a safe, luxurious ride that you absolutely deserve. It's a VIP experience. Okay. So back to all this lawfare, all-out lawfare. That's the title of the episode. Let's see what Savage Rich Baris thinks about all this. Rich, brother, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, after listening to all that, bro, after listening to all that, not so good. You just reminded me. Thanks. I really appreciate that. No, thanks for having me on as always, man. I'm living the dream. How about you?
I'm doing good. So give me your thoughts on Merrick Garland's testimony. And of course, I led in with the Hunter Biden stuff because, one, I'm hearing from all my people that the whole Hunter Biden jury is basically rigged in his favor. Doesn't really surprise anybody. A bunch of Democrats stacked on that jury, one of which is a secret. Yes. One of which is a Secret Service contact. And the point that I made, though, Rich, going into this was that, and I asked the audience just to bear with me a little bit, was that a Hunter Biden acquittal is probably the best thing that could happen for this election cycle. And the reason is that this lawfare stuff is opening people's eyes, Rich. And I mean, like, people don't want their children growing up in a dystopian hellscape. I mean, first you have the Department of Justice declining to prosecute Joe Biden because he's a feeble old man with a poor memory. Then you don't prosecute Hunter Biden at all while prosecuting Trump on completely made up bullshit. And you even got guys like Dr. Phil, who is not political at all, runs a daytime show, right, with a bunch of, I would assume, non-political folks who watch, saying, okay, this Trump verdict is a bridge too far. We got to stop the insanity. And if people like Dr. Phil are waking up and addressing this, you can bet your ass the American people are aware of it too.
Yeah, let me just say, first things first, you could also, just like certain indicators, that I always look at, and interest shoots up. The Public Polling Project, we had just released a poll right before that verdict came out, and everybody wanted us to get right back into the field. So we have the Public Polling Project, and on Friday we had it slows up. The Biden economy stinks, and so until we get closer to the election, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, it's a crowd-funded project that we use to conduct national polling. We do get in the battleground states as well, and we'll do that more when we get closer to the election. If people want to check that out, they can go to bigdatapoll.com and share it. That's what I could ask you to do. If you can't contribute, share it, because the bigger the contributor base, the better. But I mean, Sean, we had a bang of a day on Friday because people want to know what people really think and knew the polls were going to do what they're doing. Right. So, and I laugh at some of the results of these because you have YouGov as far as whether the people are waking up. I mean, they can't even skew the wording of the survey good enough to get a good result. They can't. It's unbelievable. Some of these questionnaires that are being drafted, if you were taking like you were studying statistics in college, or you're taking a survey design course or something, you would absolutely fail your assignment if you worded and ordered a survey in this manner. So to see it practiced, is disgusting to me. It really bothers me. And they're still not getting the results. I just looked at YouGov. They asked Trump supporters, after asking about the presidential election, does the guilty verdict cause you to rethink your support for Donald Trump? Here's the kicker. 93% said no. And 97% and 7% said yes. But
even with the skewed language?
But with the skewed language. And here's really, look, in 2016, we did not go back in our tracking poll and alter the questionnaire and ask, did Jim Comey coming out and calling Hillary Clinton, admitting or announcing that Hillary Clinton violated federal law with classified information, does that cause you to rethink your vote that you just told us you're going to cast for Hillary Clinton? It's asinine. You asked a voter how they're going to vote, and you don't re-ask them after telling them something in some loaded way, and they're still not getting, which tells you something a lot, Sean. Tells you a lot. They're still not getting real marginal differences. So the bump that Joe Biden in any of these polls we've even seen, the ones that you could point to that may be a little bit favorable to him, like Morning Consult, that bump is smaller than the bump Hillary Clinton got after the Billy Bush tape. Because the other problem as a pollster is immediately after something like this, polling is tricky, to say the least. You're going to get typical, everyone knows this. What I'm saying right now is not controversial. Everyone knows you're going to get a response bias one way or the other. You may have Republicans amped up and wanting to tell, the pollster, I'm voting for Donald Trump anyway. But for the most part, you're going to see a social bias where people are going to try to hide their views a little bit. That's what you will see. Same thing with the Billy Bush tape. Sean, the numbers never really moved. They just didn't want to tell the pollster in the immediate 72, 96-hour aftermath that they're not going to vote for Trump after that Billy Bush tape came out. That's all. They were always going to vote for him. Same thing here. Rich,
I don't want to interrupt you, but you remember back thinking about the Billy Bush tape and the grab him by the you-know-what, and when that happened, the number that wasn't what Trump said. Like, if you spent any time in a locker room, or I was in the infantry, brother. I mean, I was in the infantry, oh my God. But that's not what I'm saying. What I learned in that moment, as somebody, I hadn't run for political office, right? Like, I just helped people up until that point, was an advisor for, for the House and the Senate on a couple of issues. But like what I learned was just how cowardly Republicans were. Oh my God,
What
they
a
were like
bunch of
rat
bitches.
fleeing a
Oh.
ship, man. Like that's where the whole concept of unendorsing came from. Do you remember that?
They ran away from him, even
They
in Florida. They completely ran away from him. Remember
They
Pat
did.
Toomey? I mean, he was trying to be a fence rider. Kelly, by the way, Pat Toomey did it better. Kelly Ayotte just totally bailed on him, and she lost her race. And in fact, underperformed Donald Trump, even though the polls said that she would outrun Donald Trump. So this is what I'm talking about, right? Because of that tape. I didn't alter the questionnaire for Hillary Clinton, and I didn't alter the questionnaire after that tape came out to say, hey, you know what? Even though you just said you're going to vote for Donald Trump, now that you heard him say, grab him by the, they love it, is that causing you to rethink your vote for Donald Trump? This is not a legitimate practice in public polling, folks. All right. And I don't give a damn who you see doing it. ABC News, NBC News, have them come on the show. We can debate it out. I will crush them like a bug. They know they're wrong, and I know they're wrong. The whole damn industry knows they're wrong. They're pumping for headlines, and they're hurting for money, and they're taking every dollar they can get. And it's effing sad because I'm watching my industry go right back in reverse after making so much progress. But yeah, bro, Republicans are bitches. Let's be real. I mean, they're total. Merrick Garland is lying. Here's the answer to all of this mystery, Matt Gaetz. He's a liar. Why didn't you have the video up for Fauci? Like you said, why didn't they tee that video
I mean, why
up?
not? I mean, how is that not the most, that's the easiest thing in the world to do.
You didn't think Jamie Raskin was going to come out and try to paint him as a working class hero under assault from the MAGA extremists? Are you kidding me?
And they were out there like Fauci crying about threats against them. It was the Democrats came in. Look, was it just me, or the Democrats went in there with their helmets on, their shields at the ready
loaded for bear, brother. Loaded for bear and a phalanx.
Yeah. And the Republicans, outside of a couple of them, but for the most part, it was just performative bullshit. I was like, what are you even doing? Like, you're not even asking questions that matter to the vast majority of the people. I was blown away. I could not have been more disappointed.
Sean, that's all it is. It's performance. It's a performance. They are worthless, which, by the way, I think is why you see Trump still outrunning them everywhere. And
I think you're right. That's such a good point.
It is. I'm telling, man, we've been talking about the non-white vote for a long time. Are Republicans generally doing a little bit better as well with black voters and Hispanic voters? Yes, a little more, marginally they are. Nowhere near Donald Trump. I cannot tell you how many times when we interview people during polling, these new Trump voters who are non-white, black and Hispanic specifically, are like, I hate both parties. I'm voting for Donald Trump. I don't know what I'm going to do down ballot. I'm undecided. Democrats are crazy. Republicans are I don't know what to do down ballot, but you can mark me down as undecided, but I can tell you right now, I'm voting for Donald Trump. So this is now becoming, and every pollster who's going to hear this, you damn well know I'm telling the truth. You hear it every day. You know what I'm talking about. People, by the way, that you never would have believed were going to vote for Donald Trump. So I do believe, as far as the Hunter Biden thing goes, I think you're right. I think it's the jurisdiction. Robert Barnes and I have been doing this work for years. We have tried. By the way, speaking of Republicans being cowards, when they had full control, both of us tried to tell them, you must break up this jurisdiction. While you have full power to do so, you could do real good. They're going to persecute you when they get the power back, and they have the ideologically possessed population to do it, and they didn't listen. They don't give a damn. What did they do? They ran the tax cuts, which is great and everything, but is that going to fundamentally alter the direction of this country? Absolutely not. Hunter Biden will be found not guilty. He will get off no matter how much is thrown at that jury. He will be let go. It'll be either because they're ideologically possessed or somebody threatened them or whatever. Like, this is the thing people like, and I heard you talk before, I was nodding along in agreement. People need to understand you don't give these people the benefit of the doubt. You don't think that things are right. Not to mention Lawfare, they're going after Keith Gill, what's his name? Gill, whatever. I have to go get his name. From the do you remember GameStop when they were shorting the stock of GameStop in hedge funds, and then a bunch of like people from Reddit, got together. We're always talking about we love the stock, and this guy they really pinpointed as the one who pushed the movement. He turned out being a financial advisor who used to do these videos on YouTube. He didn't do anything wrong. He did not break the law. They all just decided, like, it was a very organic thing to break the hedge funders at Citadel and elsewhere. They're now going to prosecute him. It looks like they're investigating him. They're going to prosecute him instead of prosecuting pieces of crap like Republican, by the way, former Ron DeSantis donor from Citadel Capital. This is a man who used his power and his corrupt regulators in the government to lay pressure on them. They bent over like the bitches they are too, and did it. And they went to the owner of Robinhood, the app that everyone was buying that stock on, and they required a ridiculous deposit amount, something unheard of in the industry, to cover the trades. They didn't have the money, of course, but the point wasn't to get that deposit. The point was to make sure that Citadel Capital was covered. And they leaned on them so that they could force Robinhood to disable the buy button on the app, Sean. So nobody was allowed, not able. Now we just heard this today. Instead of going after the people who engaged in market manipulation and like 10 other felonies, they're going after the guy who was a small guy who struck back and made a fortune doing it. He made a fortune on a bad move that Citadel and others made, and he's going to pay the price for it. Sean, this is nuts. But this is like, it's more than just politics. You saw what happened in Wisconsin. This is, folks, lining up against the wall is the next step here. You do realize that, right? I mean, what are they afraid of? Why would they be afraid to do that? They absolutely would not be afraid to do that. And by the way, I would recommend everybody watch on Netflix, if you got it, Dumb Money, and just his name is Keith Gill. I was right. Dumb Money. Look at how Ron DeSantis's favorite donor, Ken Griffin, behaves. Look at the kind of person he is. And by the way, he gives to lots of Republicans, and he's a rhino liberal himself. He likes the country being overrun at the border. He loves it. He hated Donald Trump holding China accountable. So, this is these are the people those are the people the system works for. The Hunter Bidens, the Ken Griffins, right? It doesn't work for the Keith Gills. It doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for everybody else. And they're not going to stop. I mean, look, that's what that Wisconsin story shows. If people were not paying attention, they already arrested grandmas, grandpas, they will not stop. So, I mean, just again, I'm not trying to be, Debbie Downer, but it does look like the American people are waking up to it. I just kind of wonder, so what? You know what I mean? Like,
right. I mean, that's what I was kind of getting to during my open, is that, like, so Republicans, here's how this goes. Republicans have hearings. Guys like Gates get up there, do a pretty effective job, and Jim Jordan.
They hate him. They're investigating him too.
Yeah, but then what? Like, then what? Yeah. Like, so it's a strongly worded letter and nothing happens. And
they're investigating that, Sean.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. But like my point is that, yeah, of course they're investigating. Yeah, he's an effective fighter.
He's a fighter.
He's not somebody who can be controlled. So of course they're investigating him. But it's like think about like the battle rhythm here. Republicans call a hearing. They question Democrats a little bit. Sometimes they ask good questions. Sometimes they don't. They get a bunch of sound bites, and then then Democrats are always like, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. Actually, the border's secure. They just brazenly lie. No one's ever held accountable. And the only thing that happens is a couple of national TV appearances, maybe a bump in fundraising for the Republicans who ask questions, and the thing dies on the vine. No accountability. But if there's never accountability, look at the regimes throughout the history of the world where the regime leaders continue to live in opulence at the expense of the people. It's when they start throwing that opulence in the faces of the people that bad things happen.
Yes.
And the Republicans just not doing shit about it. I mean, seriously, like, there's not one. I mean, maybe in Missouri, Eric Schmidt, I think in Missouri, the Missouri Attorney General filed a lawsuit against Biden. But outside of that, like, how is it that Joe Biden has not been criminally indicted for 85,000 missing children at our border?
That's not, I mean, Sean, those are lawsuits. Those are playing games. I'm sorry. And I like him, but Those are playing games. Act Blue is a money laundering scheme. Everybody knows it. It operates in every single state. It certainly is in every jurisdiction where there's a Republican attorney general. They have done nothing about it. Act Blue, of course, is the fundraising apparatus that like every Democrat is forced to use, but it is a money laundering operation, and it's an open secret, and everybody knows about it. So, like, what the hell? Nothing, right? It's the Benghazi show. That's what I call it. These hearings, the Benghazi show. Trey Gowdy had her dead to rights with that email with her daughter, dead to rights. She should have been removed from office.
People with Hillary Clinton, right?
Absolutely.
Hillary Clinton
People should have been prosecuted for lying under oath. They never get prosecuted for lying under oath. Neither do their surrogates like Anthony Fauci, who lied under oath 2 days ago. I mean, this multiple times. Meanwhile, Don Jr. sits there for an 18-hour gruel session, and if he gets a date wrong because he's tired and he's been answering everyone's questions over and over and over again, you best believe they'll affirm for prosecution, and Maine Justice will pick it up. This is what you people need to understand, what you just said, how important what you just said is. And I think that there's this like false sense of security in this country that we don't follow the same rules as other human civilizations. That there's something like innately different about us. The only thing different about us was that we used to solve our problems at the ballot boxes, our political problems at the ballot boxes, instead of at the jury box. Now that has changed, so we aren't that different. We have to make it different again. The social contract is completely broken. And when the ruling class fails at their job, and instead of listening to the grievances of the public that they no longer serve and only serve themselves and their, let's call them, what we call them now, interest groups, rent seekers, whatever it is, whoever's part of that ruling class and the supportive structure of the ruling class, once that becomes the issue, that's when it gets real dark, and it gets dark quick. There will be a problem. There will be some kind of political upheaval. Sean Trendy on Real Clear Politics is writing today. It's his first part. He had promised basically to write articles, a series of articles about potential positive situations for Joe Biden, because all the other articles were about as true as Sean has written for years, anything, because he lost his mind for a while there. But, he's been very, at least somewhat, down the middle of this cycle, saying that Trump is the favorite. There's no doubt he is, and maybe a bigger one than we're giving him credit for. And he said, I will write articles that are positive for Biden. Then the verdict happened. And instead of writing a positive article, Sean delves into this like, man, I hope this doesn't happen and he's not put in prison and Hunter Biden is not let off, because I am now forced to acknowledge that we are closer to something like a civil war than I have ever allowed myself to ever believe we would be, and so, because he understands something as a psephologist and as a political scientist, if he's anyone who's being honest, they understand something. This cannot continue forever. It won't continue forever. Either the state extinguishes the dissenting voices, and what I mean by that, of course, is something in the lines of what Mao did, right? What Stalin did, what Pol Pot did. Either there's only two outcomes. The state gets rid of dissenters, gulags, executions, roundups, whatever it is, or the dissenters, and hopefully for them, get smart and take measure before. That's the only way this ends. And I'm not calling for it. I'm simply saying that's human history,
if we continue on this path, listen, Rich, if the elites in this country, they face zero
will end up like Mussolini. That's it.
Yeah, no accountability at all. And yet they continue to throw, not only just living behind, like in silence with opulence, just throwing it in people's faces. I don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. But that is the inevitable end state of where we're going. I mean, it just is. And I don't want that. I don't want my children
growing
up in a country like that. And ultimately, I mean, I think that's why people are waking up. I think that's why Dr. Phil is doing segments on this. I hate to say it, but I think that's why people are waking up. You even have Frank Luntz saying, there's been no big shift in polls following Trump's New York verdict, and that's itself a big story.
That is the story, Sean, because to this huge chunk of the population, what's looking like apparently either very close to a majority, a winning plurality, or an outright majority in this country. They care more about their grievances that aren't being heard than some scam effort. Listen, they fell for one already. Let's be real. It was temporary, but they fell for one already, the Russia hoax. And they put aside their own interests, to give the state one more benefit of the doubt. And it was a lie. And they all, of course, COVID, they wanted to listen to public health officials. All of that kind of culminated, ended up in Donald Trump only getting one term. And they realized now they got the shaft and they wanted him back. So the polls show they want him back. And what do? What does the state do? They take it to a whole other level, This is not Peter Strzok and Lisa Page banging in the broom closet in the FBI and deciding how they're going to play games with the election and Donald Trump. This is something totally different. And I'm telling you, if they're willing to go through all of that, reality winner, and remember these, we got to remind people about all of this, leaking a SARS report at the risk of her own security clearance and her freedom. And she got caught, right? Wolf at the Senate, right? He was a fixture at the Foreign Relations Committee at the U.S. Senate, leaking all of that classified information to the New York Times. They're willing to do that. They're willing to engage in what essentially was a dark art soft coup against a duly elected president with a completely fabricated hoax. I can go on and on. They pushed a guy to shoot Steve Scalise and 4 others at a charity baseball game in the name of their lie, right? I mean, how many more do we have to go down here? You're telling me they're not willing to now? And now they're willing to use a virus, the origins of which are still highly, highly suspect as to what, and the timing, I don't believe in coincidences, still highly, they lied to us about that, the origins of where that virus came from. They're willing to do all of this. And now they're willing to prosecute their political opponent and his supporters, because now we have to say that you're all going to jail. I mean, if you are any kind of highly visible supporter of Donald Trump, you are at risk of being imprisoned right now in the United States of America. Wake up.
And that would be
you, right? I mean, everybody on Twitter in our circle, right? Everybody needs to wake up, because that's what's going on right now. You think they were not willing to carry through with this and throw them in prison? And if that doesn't work, to do even the unspeakable, they already did it. Nobody did anything to them. They totally got away with it. I mean, why are we even pretending like this isn't the case?
My wife said way back in the day, Commander Melanie, like when all that stuff, because I was running for Congress at the time, when all that stuff with COVID happened, she saw the writing on the wall back then, and she's like, lockdowns. Wait, if our government can tell us can lock us in their homes, is there anything that they can't tell us? Like, next thing you know, it's a global health crisis because of climate change, and UV rays are dangerous, and you got to wear a hat. Like, how is that any different than them forcing a face diaper on? You would force you to wear a mask that wasn't effective. If the government can tell you can literally steal your liberties, the precedent has been set. You're right. Like, enforce injections on people. I know that. I mean, look, we talked about this before, Rich, but like this is why I feel that in conjunction with the fact that Republicans are just weak as hell. This is why Democrats feel like they can just get away with literal murder in some cases, because Republicans don't fight back, and they've already done it before and face no consequences. Still face no consequences for anything. I mean, honest to God, I did a segment on Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and all the foreign money that they took.
Oh my God.
Hundreds of millions of dollars from countries in the Middle East, and nobody gave a damn. Nobody said a word.
Schneiderman, just as the top cop, knowing that they were breaking, by the way, laws with disclosing contributions, and right, he just let them operate with impunity in New York State, knowing full well what it was, and they didn't care. Like, they don't get in trouble, so they don't care. And when people finally figure out something they're doing and call them out for it, they just act like they may, like you said, just brazenly lie because they feel like they can get away with it. For people who didn't listen to the Fauci hearing, to let you know just a few things that he admitted. One, as we had said from the very beginning, there was a playbook for the for a SARS related pandemic because of the outbreaks in Southeast Asia. We decided to rip it up and rewrite one that had no basis in science, right? He admitted under oath, there was no evidence for social distancing. The 6-foot rule, they fabricated it. They made that shit up. I don't remember how he kind of did it. Somebody said 6 feet and we just rolled with it. That's what he said.
It just sort of showed up.
Yeah, it just sort of showed up. And masking our kids in school, masking in general. The only thing the science says is that it retards their social and cognitive development. That's all. I mean, that's all and by the way, that's all it ever said, because they acted like we needed a wealth of new studies to learn about this stuff, when in fact, they've been around forever. School closures, all of this, because of the pandemics we have seen in the early 2000s in Southeast Asia. It's not like the flu. Kids don't have high enough levels, so it doesn't they don't act like a petri dish like they do with the flu. So closing schools has nothing, has no positive impact on preventing transmission. What is a big no-no, however, is keeping people enclosed in the same area, confined in the same area for long durations of time indoors. What did we do? And he just admitted under oath that was like, we just made this shit up.
Made it up completely. And not only that, like, I did a show last week where I talked about Rich, it's not, the government didn't just do one thing wrong with COVID. This wasn't just like, hey, it's a crisis, sometimes things go sideways. They got everything wrong. Everything, they did the exact opposite of what was right. Like closing down gyms, keep us healthy, forcing medication on us like remdesivir that was deadly, while smearing ivermectin that would actually could have saved lives. Inexpensive. Inexpensive. You had ventilators that were actually, we know now were for the protection of doctors and nurses and not the patients. And almost everybody that went on a ventilator died. They forced patriots out of the military for not wanting to take what was an experiment. Almost everything that they did was deliberate. And I'm telling you, man, I said it right here on this show. It was deliberate to drive the misery index through the roof to take out Trump. And that was it. Look at what they were willing to do to this country just to beat one dude.
China owns half of these pieces of shit on Capitol Hill. Pardon my French. I can't help it. I'm just angry. China owns half of these guys. Everybody knows it. And China was on their knees like a bunch of biatches in phase 2 of the trade negotiations that Donald Trump was having with them. Sean, they were in deep trouble and their economy was already slowing. He had their manufacturing machine grinding to a halt. They were in deep trouble. And then miraculously, a virus just springs out of their institute, which, by the way, is being funded by Trump's enemies in the United States. And it just happens to be engineered to kill what appears to demographically be a Trump supporter in Florida, a Trump supporter in Ohio. I mean, I'm sorry. If you believe this stuff, then you are stupid. You are a naive person, and it's because of people like you that we are in so much trouble. Government is evil. Our founding fathers did not believe that government was a tool for good. Government is inherently evil because it is a vehicle of power. And the only way to maintain liberty is to constantly safeguard against its ever encroaching nature, because that's what it does. And we have allowed it to go on for too long, and it's turned into the evil monstrosity that they feared it would become. And once it becomes this, it's very difficult to roll back. Very difficult. It usually requires a big event or a reset of some kind. And I'm just telling you the history, I mean,
the founders anticipated this.
They did.
It was essentially paraphrasing that it was responsibility of the people to abolish it if the social contract is violated. I mean, that's just what our founders said. They anticipated this.
Yeah. And honestly, Sean, they did not believe that bureaucrats, professional class bureaucrats like Anthony Fauci, were people to be trusted. These were exactly the opposite of people that you would want to put your faith in, right? And why would anyone believe, after what happened with Purdue Pharma, like doctors aren't human beings or something?
With the opiate bait, with Purdue Pharma and the opiates.
They poisoned us all. They poisoned us all, including myself. I remember getting out of the military. That doctor straight looked at me. I didn't want it. And she was like, if it becomes a problem, we can, there's things we can do to get you off. Yeah, I'll tell you what you do. You sit and shake and puke for 2 weeks. That's what you do. I mean, that's it. These were people who were getting kickbacks. They poisoned me and millions of other people so they could get a fucking cruise, Sean. So they could get a cruise paid for by Purdue Pharma, the FDA regulator who once upon a time was giving them a hard time approving it because of the lie that it's less addictive. He just caved. Why? They wrote him a check. 6 months later, after approval, he's sitting at Purdue Pharma, living his best life at the pool parties, brother. I mean, this is what it is. Why would anyone think that government is some kind of fair referee and they're looking out for you? No, they are not. What fantasy world did you create in your head? Power corrupts. Power is ever corrupting, and government is the vehicle which power is used. Police state power is used. I'm sorry. I mean, we just like forgot about the basic fundamentals here. We really did. We forgot. They just like poof out of the national identity, out of the mind, and we just continue to live our lives in our Facebooks, in our everything else they have to distract us. And they did this while everybody was kind of asleep. And thank God they are waking up now. But I mean, I don't know how Democrat, Republican, like, I don't know how on earth you're not terrified by this, even as a partisan. I keep saying this, even partisans, how could you not be terrified by this? Do you not have children? Do you not have grandchildren? I don't like Barack Obama. I can't stand that guy. If they ever did this to him, I would have hung that jury if it took me 3 effing months. I would have hung that jury. You want to threaten me? Threaten me. That's fine. At least my kids will still survive, At least it'll still be good for my kids. You rub me out because I won't give the verdict you want. Fine. I don't know, Sean.
Yeah, someone somewhere stand up and do the right thing.
Exactly. Where are all the people big enough for the time? America's history is filled with these characters, these immense challenges, challenges to our system and our social contract. And there are always these men and in many cases women who stood up, who were big enough to meet the challenges of those time, and they secured it for the next generation. We did not do that. And by the way, you're about the same age as me. Our parents didn't do it. And, here we are.
Here we are. Rich, tell us how we can support you and where we can find you.
Best places always, folks, is on locals, peoplespundit.locals.com. Peoplespundit.locals.com. And again, check out the public polling project, folks. Even if you can, just share it far and wide. Let's get this thing cranked up and going.
I implore you all to support Savage Rich Baris. He's fantastic, the best in the business. Rich, as always, brother, see you soon.
See you soon, my friend.
See you, Rich. That's Savage Rich Baris, the best pollster in the business. Up next, I'm going to be talking about the Biden executive order. There's just stuff that you have to know about it before I travel tomorrow. But first, before we get to that, let me tell you about Genesis Gold. Let's face it, the current geopolitical situation isn't great. And under this administration, the economy hasn't exactly inspired confidence. Why would it? The animated corpse that is Joe Biden is in the White House, and he's a joke. So as a result, Americans like you are concerned about their retirement savings, and for good reason. But there's good news. Gold has held its value since the dawn of mankind. And did you know that that gold is mentioned in every book of the Bible from Genesis through Revelation? As a faith-driven precious metal company, Genesis Gold Group helps Americans protect their life savings from threats facing our nation. So they're an awesome faith-based gold company. Like, you should definitely check them out. They want their customers to be fully aware of all the options that they have. So not just the ones that benefit them, the seller. They want to educate you along the way. So get your free definitive gold guide to get started and learn more about investing in gold and protecting your retirement from uncertain times. Visit rvmgold.com now. Fill out just a very basic contact form, and a member of the team will be in touch. Again, that's rvmgold.com. Okay, back to the show here. Biden's executive order on the border today. Biden was out there stumbling and bumbling at the podium, and basically what his executive order does is codify the illegal invasion through the executive branch of our country. Actually, like, you should just listen to what Biden has said, and then I'll break it down for you. Listen, check this out. This is crazy.
I believe that immigration has always been a lifeblood of America. We're constantly renewed by an infusion of people and new talent. The Statue of Liberty is not some relic of American history. It stands for who we are as the United States. So I will never demonize immigrants. I'll never refer to immigrants as poisoning the blood of a country. And further, I'll never separate children from their families at the border. I will not ban people from this country because of their religious beliefs. I will not use the U.S. military to go into neighborhoods all across the country to pull millions of people out of their homes and away from their families to put detention camps while awaiting deportation, as my predecessor says he will do if he occupies his office again. On my very first day as president, I introduced a comprehensive immigration reform plan to fix our broken system, secure our border, provide pathways for citizenship for dreamers, and a lot more. And I'm still fighting to get that done. But we must face the simple truth. To protect America as a land that welcomes immigrants, we must first secure the border and secure it now. The simple truth is, there is a worldwide migrant crisis. And if the United States doesn't secure our border, there's no limit to the number of people who may try to come here, because there's no better place on the planet than the United States of America.
First of all, the guy slurs his word throughout the whole thing. Immigration, Statue of Liberty, America. Like, oh my God. But listen, folks, there's a reason why Biden is doing this. You got to know the details. But Biden went on, and what did he do? He blamed Republicans for obstructing on the border. I don't think the American people are going to buy it, but just listen.
You bear responsibility for everything that's happening at the border now. I hear you talking a lot about
people. So today, I'm moving past Republican obstruction and using the executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can on my own to address the border. Frankly, I would have preferred to address this issue through a bipartisan legislation, because that's the only way to actually get the kind of system we have now that's broken, fixed, to hire more Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, more judges. But Republicans have left me no choice. Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern...
Republicans left him no choice. So here's the takeaway from all of this. All of this political BS executive action on the border, what it confirmed for me and what it should confirm for you is that this animated corpse had the authority to take action on the border all along. You knew that. I knew that. But the border executive order, essentially what it does, and this is just no bullshit assessment here, is it makes mass illegal immigration a permanent state here in this country. It will never end. It codifies it into law. It exempts child trafficking to ensure trafficked children are delivered to their U.S. destinations. It funnels all surplus traffic to the ports via a phone app for automatic entry and deportation amnesty. And it leaves, and this is the most important part, well, all of this is ridiculously bad, but it leaves all 15 to 20 million illegal aliens who are already in this country, it leaves them here. So basically what this dude has done has brought 15 to 20 million illegal alien invaders into this country. This executive order leaves them here. That number is equivalent to the size of like 15 states of Montana, 20 San Franciscos, and Biden will make them all citizens. He's going to make them all voting citizens. I'm telling you, folks, like, there has never been a more important moment in our country's history for a man like Trump to win this election, because listen, these people cannot stay here. They have to go. We cannot send a signal to the world that you can come to America illegally. You can't do it. Our system simply cannot sustain this. And of course, Biden's been all over the map. He's not doing what's best for America, because of course he's not. He's trying to tear down this country, but he's doing what he believes is best for him politically. First, it was this dude bragging about undoing Trump immigration policies. Listen.
Do you bear responsibility for everything that's happening at the border now? I hear you talking a lot about the past administration. You decided to roll back some of those policies. Did you move too quickly to
roll back what? I'm sorry?
Policies. Did you move too quickly to roll back some of the executive orders of your predecessor?
Rolling back the policies of separating children from their mothers, I make no apology for that. Rolling back the policies of remain in Mexico, sitting on the edge of the Rio Grande in a muddy circumstance with not enough to eat, I make no apologies for that. I make no apologies for ending programs that did not exist before Trump became president, that have an incredibly negative impact on the law, international law, as well as on human dignity. And so I make no apologies for that.
First of all, it's unbelievable how fast Biden has declined just from March of 2021 when that video, that soundbite happened. But under Joe Biden, this is over 85,000 children have gone missing at the border. Total media silence. No AOC dressed in white crying at the border over some parking lot. No one gives a shit about those kids. Again, how this man has not been indicted by Republican attorneys general in red states for human trafficking and willful violation of United States immigration law is beyond me. But there he was bragging about dismantling all of the Trump era policies, which, by the way, this executive order puts a lot of them back in place. But he went from that to 3 years later in January of 2024 saying he has no authority to do anything.
With executive authority, or is there more you could do? Absent
Not all I can do. Give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right.
So in 2020, Biden reverses all Trump border security policies, and he brags about it in 2021. He used executive orders to reverse all Trump's border security policies in 2022. In 2022, he said the border is secure. Remember KJP over and over and over again? The border is secure. The border is secure. Oh, hey, Alejandro Mayorkas, the border is secure. And then 2023, it's like, well, we might have a small problem at the border, but there's really nothing I can do about it because those pesky Republicans are just standing in the way. And now today, because it's an election year, I got to secure the border because those damn Republicans just aren't doing anything about it. That's exactly how the narrative unfolded. All right, let me take a quick break, tell you about Prepper Beef. Sorry, the show's going a little long, but I don't got a show tomorrow, so just stay with me. And while you're at it, while I'm reading this ad of one of our new sponsors, smash that little green thumb, that like button. Help me get over 200 likes or rumbles before the end of the show. So Prepper Beef, America's food supply is under attack. Beef is the primary target, with everything from climate change to bird flu being wielded against cattle. It behooves Americans to stop up on long-term